G'day, Julie.
G'day, Kez. How you going?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, great.
Good.
Thanks for having me on Get Off the Bench podcast land.
Podcast land. If only people knew that it was just a little room in my house, but I'll pretend it's podcast land. It sounds a bit like Willy Wonka's, doesn't it?
I know.
Oh, I love it. Well, I'm so happy to have you on, and I've been meaning to do it for ages because you just, I don't know, you just say you're just little Julie from Pakenham or whatever, but oh my God, I watch you and you've truly inspired me. Well, I remember talking to you not long ago, and you were talking about how, you wanted to play drums, African drums, and your mum thought
Yeah.
you were a maniac, but you went and did it anyway, and then joined a band and all sorts of stuff. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're going to talk about you doing hairdressing, but
Yeah.
I just go on because everyone's going to want to know now, what's the story behind these drums? So
Oh,
go and tell us.
I know. So, when I was growing up, I was obsessed with all things African, like as soon as that Born Free show come on, like I was glued. You couldn't get me away from it. And I used to say to Mum, I'm going there when I grow up. And she used to say, yes, darling, yes, darling. She'd humor me, but I tell you what, I worked for, I got my first job when I was 17 and I worked in local government. And it was at the point when local government were amalgamating. So I could take a package and leave, or I could, stay on. And I thought, oh my God, this is my chance. Like, I'm going to get out and start exploring the world. Like, I don't want to be stuck behind a white picket fence in Maui all my life. Like, this is it. So I kind of like got out and started traveling, and I went to Africa and was kind of surreal, and here I am visiting all these places that I saw on TV. So anyway, I'm sort of getting away from the fact here, but got a bit sidetracked. But I was obsessed with all things African. And anyway, I said to Mum one day, I was, living out in the country, and I said, I'm going to play the African drums. I think I'll go and get a drum and find someone to teach me. And she just laughed and she said, but where are you going to find a drum? Who sells African drums here? And where do you think you're going to find someone to teach you? And I said, look, I just reckon it's all going to fall into place. I'm just going to put it out there and trust in the universe, So kind of started, phoning around some networks and got hold of this woman, and she, used to like buy and sell percussion instruments. And I thought, this is it. So I gave her a call, and happened to be my music teacher from primary school. And so I rock up to her place, and here's this big, beautiful drum sitting there, with the goat skin and all the fur around the edge. And I thought, oh my God, like that's unbelievable. I didn't know what I was buying, but it looked pretty, So she slapped down a bit of a beat on it, and I thought, that's amazing. I want that. So I bought that drum and then did a bit of a ring around, and happened to get hold through friends of friends, this couple who were just starting this drum group out at Mubu North in the mechanics hall in the main street there. So anyway, got hold of them and spoke to his wife, because his English wasn't that good at the time. So I spoke to his wife, and she said, yeah, she gave me all the details. So she said, come out, and I think it was like a Wednesday night or something. So at the time I was driving one of those little Sirion cars, they're like tiny little bubble cars, So I loaded me big drum in there and hopped in my little Sirion and travelled out in the hills in Burbu North, and get out there and set up my drum and meet everybody. And it was like really warm weather, and so the whole side of the building opened up, and then you had people from the local community coming, sitting in the park, and we get into this drumming, and I was really getting off on it. And I thought, this is like, I couldn't have dreamt of a better experience. I was really getting off on this African beat, and I'm giving it my all, and I'm just sitting there almost in a trance, like I was in another world. I was in seventh heaven. So anyway, after a full night of drumming, and I thought, I'm just amazed at how well I did. Every now and then the guy that was leading, I'd catch his, looking at me, and he was smiling, and I thought, oh, I think I'm doing all right. So anyway, at the end of the night, loaded me little drum into my little car, and I'm travelling home along those Mubu North hills, in the dark. And the trip home was like really slow, because I had this giant male kangaroo who was like jumping higher than my car. And I could see his like testicles like flapping in the headlights, like they were just about on my windscreen. And And I was just like driving home, just on an absolute high. And then I get home and I climb into bed because it's quite late. And then the phone rings and I thought, oh my God, who's ringing me, at like midnight? And it was his wife. And she says to me, look, he was so impressed with your drumming. She said, can you come out on the weekend and audition for his band? And I'm like, what? What the hell? Like I've only had one lesson, And I thought, oh my God. And she goes, he reckons that you're a natural. So I'm on the phone to Mum. I said, you're never going to guess what? I had my first lesson. Now I'm going to audition for the band. And she's like, what? But you've never played before. And I said, apparently I'm a natural. I'm going with it and I'm going to audition for this band. So I went and auditioned and it was an all-day affair. Ended up staying overnight, had dinner with them and everything. And it was just amazing. And played with them for a few years and did gigs all over Gippsland and had the absolute best time of my life. I thought, this is great. So I sort of got to a point where I thought, oh, yeah, well, I need a bit of a break from music because it was pretty full on. I was working full time and doing that as well. So it was pretty full on. So I thought, I think I might have a little break. So I remember talking to Mum and I said, well, I'm just going to have a break from the band for a while, I think. And I think I might concentrate on my artwork. And she said, what artwork? You're not an artist. You don't have any. I can just feel it. Like I think I'm a natural for this kind of thing. I'm very creative. So I'm just going to pull some work together. I'd really like to be in some exhibitions and maybe sell some work. She thought it was an absolute joke. And my dad was an artist, but he was born an artist, he was very talented. But I said, I think I take after Dad. Like I think this is my path, So anyway, I got some work together and I was in a couple of exhibitions locally and sold an absolute heap of work through a local business and very successful. It was great.
Wow.
You can just do whatever you want to do, really. If you're passionate about something, like put yourself out there. Yeah. And it will just happen. Yeah. Just sow the seed out into the universe or the higher power or whatever you want to call it. And it just comes back to you, I reckon.
I reckon that 100%. And it's just, I love what you're talking about is, oh, well, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. And what I love is that we're always too scared to start because we need to get it perfectly right. When I'm really good and when I'm perfect, then I'm going to do it. But I reckon start messy. Who cares? Just give it a crack. And you've just proven two things, the drumming and the art. It can just flow if you're prepared to just give it a crack. And I love that story. I love both of them, but I love it.
Yeah, just give it a go, I reckon. You don't, as you say, you don't have to be perfect. Just figure it out as you go.
Yeah. I agree. And when you were talking, so moving past that, and you've eventually got yourself a full-time job, you're like in admin, secretarial stuff, that's your full-time gig. Yep. But then that's not enough. Like, in the back of your mind, you go, man, you know what? I wanted to do drums. And funny, look at me. I found myself in a band. I might do some art. And look at me. I'm selling a heap of artwork at exhibitions. So, guys, I hope you're listening to this and get inspired by this because you really can do stuff. But now and I remember you telling me, it might have been a year ago, you said, Kez, I think I'm going to be a barber. And I said, a barber. And you said, yeah, I like that idea. And I said, I wasn't like your mum. I said, bloody hell, go for it. That's fantastic.
That's right. I know. It's so funny. Like as a little girl, Mum kind of said to me when I was young, what do you want to be when you grow up, And I said, because I just had a thing for hair. I just really loved hair. I don't know what it was. There was a couple of barbers in the family, but I just really had a thing for hair. And I said, I think I want to be a hairdresser or a barber. And she was like horrified. And it was like, you will not. You'll get yourself a real job. Every girl needs a clerical background, like old school. Yeah. And that's okay. And it has been good and it's never let me down. And, I've traveled heaps of places and lived heaps of places. And it's always, I've never been out of work unless I've chosen to be. Yeah. And, it's been good like that. But in the back of my mind, like I always still wanted to really do that. And then I can remember it was end of 2018, I was having a performance development meeting with my manager. And we thought we'd just do it casually over coffee, across the road from the office. So anyway, we're having a yak there. And she said, is there any kind of like training opportunities that you think you want to do to help you do your job better? She said, not that you need it, but, is there anything that you want to do? And it was one of those conversations. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, not really. But one of those ticker box things that you had to identify something, So anyway, we decided that I'd do some project management training. So she said, when we get back to the office, just Google it and see what comes up and find some training and we'll get you in, And I said, oh, yeah, that'd be great. But internally, I'm thinking, oh, gee, God, like, that's just going to bore me senseless. But you got to do what you got to do, But I thought, oh, I couldn't think of anything worse. But yeah, I'll see what I can find. So anyway, we get back to work, and because we kind of like sit next to each other, and I get onto Google, and I don't know, I must have Googled like project management training or something. I don't know, whatever I did, but it came up with this certificate in barbering, and you could be qualified in a year. And I'm like, oh my God. And I got really excited. And I said to her, you're not going to believe what I just found. And I said, do you know that I could be a qualified barber in 12 months? I said, I just found this training. I know it's not project management, but this really excites me. And she was so supportive. And she said, wow, how do you think you're going to do that? So I ended up taking a year out, and I balanced it by doing 3 days at barber school, and then I did 2 days in my normal job.
Yeah.
So that's how I balanced it for a year, and I became a qualified barber in a year. And like, I'm way past 50, and I didn't really want to set up my own business or anything like that, and I was happy doing what I was doing, but I just wanted to use it for like to give back to people and give back to community. And there's got to be a way I can work that in, So just through conversations with people, I ended up at a local neighbourhood house, and I volunteer once a month there. I did some stuff locally to where I live, but I really wanted to go back to Latrobe Valley because that's where I was born and raised, and it's always home. Like, I've travelled a big chunk of the world, but the valley's always home for me. I've still got family and friends there, and I wanted to give back to that community in some way. So that's how I ended up volunteering 1 day a week, and I cut people's hair at a local neighbourhood house, and it's great, and I love it, and I'm not there as a counsellor or to give people advice or anything like that, but just make them feel valued and heard, feel like they matter for that moment in time. And it's great because people are doing it really, really tough out there. So
yeah,
it just really, floats my boat, gives me a high. I love it.
Oh, I love it too. Now you said once a month and once a week, but I think it's once a month, isn't it, that you do it?
Yeah, once a month. Yeah.
And that's it. That's at the Morwell neighbourhood house. And
yeah.
So what inspired you to, like, when you're going there? I just love that you're giving back. I love that you're using this skill, because you really could have just become a barber and said, well, that's it, I'm leaving my admin job and clerical job, thanks very much, because that really served me, but now I'm going to go and make a ton of money, cutting hair, and who doesn't want a female barber? Like, I think that's fantastic, but you've chosen not to. You've chosen to just do charity, and as you said, I think Latrobe Valley's doing it tough. Like, a lot of people are doing it tough, but there's Morwell and, the surrounds have had, the Hazelwood closure and the mine fires, and they've had so many floods into Elgin, and it's just like, it's been nonstop battering. And it's it's a demographic. A lot of the demographic is struggling anyway. And it's bloody tough. So I think it's fantastic that you're going there and doing that for them. It's were you, with this charity thing? Were you like you're saying, your mum said, no, you're not going to be a barber. You're gonna do clerical work. Were you raised with some kind of charity mindset, or is that something that you've just developed in your adulthood or over your life or something?
Yeah, I think I developed it. Yeah, because not that it's a conversation for today, but there were times in my life where I did it really, really tough. I like, escaped domestic violence, and there were times where I'd shifted to a place where I had enough money for 2 weeks rent, and I didn't know how I was going to feed myself because I didn't have a job, and like, there's been some really, really tough times. And I think when you go through experiences that really challenge you and kind of break you down to a point, I think you either because I always believe that you either become bitter or you become better. And I just, I always, I had people that kind of, like I lived in, a part of Maui at one point in time. And if I came home from work late, my next door neighbour, who was also, she was struggling. She was a butler and she would struggle from pension to pension, but she'd always come over. And if I came home late, then she'd come over with a plate of food for my dinner so I didn't have to cook. And, just like the kindness of people around me. And it just really touched me. And having gone through those really difficult times, like it just really makes, well, it's made me, I think, a better person and a softer heart and a more giving heart. And I just really relate to people when they're doing it tough. And I just want to, some of the people I come across, I just want to pack them in my barber kit and bring them home,
I bet they'd love that.
Just so adorable, I just really wanted to make a difference for people. So I think that's where it stems from.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And did you have did you when you said earlier, I want to come back to neighborhood house in a minute, but when you said you googled project management, and you found the barbering
Yeah.
and your boss said, "Hey, you're going to make this work," did you have any hesitation or any sort of second thoughts or any sort of feelings of, oh, look, I can't do this, it's just too hard, that sort of stuff?
No, I just thought, oh, I was so excited. Like I was, over brimming with excitement that I just like blurted everything out that I wanted and
I
said,
love it.
what does that sound like? Do you think we can make that work? And maybe I can take a year out. Maybe I can balance and do that and, cover work a couple of days a week. And what do you reckon? How do you think that all sounds? And I'm like speaking 100 miles an hour. And she was so supportive, like couldn't ask for a better manager. And she was just like, yeah, we can do that. We can make that happen for you. I know it's been a passion and let's give it a go. So she was really supportive. It was great.
I love that, and I'm clearly a bit. I've clearly jumped out of my TARDIS to talk to you because I spoke to you about a year ago, and now I'm listening to you, and I reckon it was about 4 years ago. It's gone like bloody hell. Has that much time passed?
I know. It's COVID.
I was sure
COVID
it was
does
only
that.
a year ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
so what? So when after you were qualified to be a barber, right? And then you thought, I want to give back, and you contacted Morwell Neighbourhood House or something. Somehow, how did you get into there? Like, did you reach out to them and ask?
Oh,
Or
yeah, I can't rightly remember how that happened. So I think previous to me becoming a barber, I happened to be like at some community function and I happened to be talking to the, you know, Tracy who manages the Morwell neighbourhood house there. And I might have mentioned thinking about doing barbering and be nice if I could hook up. And she was like really excited. And then through some other community event, I came across one of the councillors with local council and her and I got chatting about it too. And she was really excited about the concept. And, there was all these opportunities that I could link into. And I just thought, yeah, that's something that can really happen. So when I eventually got qualified, um, COVID hit and, there was like different reasons for why it couldn't happen straight away with work, but I eventually got there and linked in and I went back to Tracy at the house and said, I'm ready to go. And what do you reckon? And, and it just so happened that she'd had, a hairdresser there who had to leave and couldn't do it anymore. So I just kind of like took over and slotted in and it's been great. And you just have the best conversations with people, and as I said, I'm not there to be a counsellor or give advice, but make people feel valued and heard. And I thought it would take a while for people to kind of like warm and start engaging, but no, they just sat down in front of me and just started, telling me their life story. And people are just so bloody interesting. And I mean, you have so many conversations. Like, one lady sat down, she started talking about the colour of her pubic hair and her sex life. That's okay.
no.
Whatever. Let's just run with whatever anyone wants to talk about.
Jesus God. It's just soon as you said that, something went in my eye. It's like, geez, I haven't wanted a bloody pubic hair.
No, it's some amazing conversation.
It's
Oh,
but when you go to when you just go to the hairdressers, I always cut my own hair because I don't want to talk shit. But I've been to a few, and it's kind of the conversation, and I listen to other people's conversation. I think everybody just, I don't know, it must be when you start touching people's hair, they feel
yeah,
comfortable with you, or a sort of a sense of intimacy. And I don't mean relationship intimacy, but it's a trust,
no,
a trust
yeah,
intimacy, and it's
yeah, yeah.
I love it. And it's, I'm just thinking, listening to you, I'm thinking, were there any hesitations? Was anything holding you back? And you're like, nah, nah, nah. And it's so good because this is what I long to hear from so many people. Is it, no, I just went for it. I just gave it a crack. I just, because we can get so tangled up in our narrative telling us we're not good enough, we shouldn't do
Mm,
that. What if they
yeah,
reject me? What if I ask them? Then I look
yeah,
stupid, and we just keep, we do you know what I mean? It just stops us from doing stuff. And you're sort of saying, no, I
yeah.
just followed my heart and trust the universe. And what, so going down that path, just follow my heart, trust the universe. What would have happened if Tracy, by the way, Tracy's going to be on in a few weeks as well. So I absolutely love her. I
Oh,
think she's
great.
I know she's amazing, doing an amazing job there and more. What
Yeah.
if she had have said, no, we don't want you? What would you have felt, or what would you have done, or how would it have impacted you?
Probably would have felt a little bit shattered for a moment. Um, yeah, would have felt a bit of rejection there, but I would have got over it. And I thought, nah, just because that house doesn't want me doesn't mean to say that there's not other places that I can link into. So I probably would have just gone to another neighbourhood house.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the
But I mean, there's plenty of services that are crying out for people to
yeah.
do stuff. Yeah.
I love that you're saying that because there are what happens is a lot of people have their mindset on something, and then the person says, no, we can't, we just can't do it. And then we personalize it, rather than saying, well, perhaps they don't have any space for a hairdresser or a
Yeah.
barber. Like perhaps there's just no space, or perhaps the timing's wrong, or perhaps they're going through
Mm,
some other struggle where they're just not able to implement another program. But instead we personalize it, and it's, oh, they hate me, they don't want me, this is all about
yeah. Yeah.
me. And we've got to
And
stop doing that, because there's
yeah.
so many reasons why it might not work right at this moment. And as you said, there's so many other opportunities, but we shut ourselves down, because
Yeah.
one person or one thing doesn't want our services right at the moment,
Mm,
and
mm,
and I've had a lot of people, for me, that have said, no, we don't need any team building or something right now. But they've come back to me in a year, and said, you know what, we've got room now, like we can do it now. And I think
yeah. Yeah.
we need to stop taking things personally and just accept that, if someone was to come to my door with a vacuum cleaner, I'd say, no, I've already got one. And it wouldn't even be anything to do with them. It would be the fact that
Yeah.
right now I don't need it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's
Oh,
funny you asked that question because it never actually entered my head that they wouldn't want me.
I love that.
It never actually entered my head. Like I didn't actually think of it. I just thought, of course they're gonna want me. Like they've
Oh.
been waiting. Of course I'm in.
So, Julie, I'm going to ask you then. I love that you're thinking that, but a lot of people don't. What makes you different? Like, where do you get that from? That sort of sense of, I don't know. Well, everything's going to be okay. Like that sense of, I don't know, self approval, or sense of self, not putting yourself down. Just I'm okay. I'm all right with this.
Yeah. I think it's from those past experiences that I touched on before. Like there were some really, really dark, tough moments in there
Mm,
where I was, like a mere shell of myself, really.
mm,
And once I sort of like came out of that with a lot of support and a lot of professional counselling at the time, and I sort of like came out of that, and I did a lot of hard yards and a lot of hard work on myself. I kind of thought, well, you reflect on yourself, and you can't imagine being that person. And it's like, so you just kind of, I don't know, I just became like, I didn't need people's approval, or it's okay to be me, and it's okay not to be perfect, and it's okay to give things a go. And if they don't succeed, then that's okay. Just try again. Or
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just from life, really. Life just taught me that. I
So
suppose.
maybe more people need a few more hard knocks.
Yeah, like go through a few more hard times and you'll be right.
Well, they say that, don't they? You know, the best way to get over shit is to go through tough shit. But it's
Right.
I just see so many people, and I'm not criticizing because I get it. You know, I get we're all at different points in our life, and I get that circumstances and experiences and events and all sorts of things can affect all of us in so many different ways.
Mm,
But I do come across so many people who they've got a brilliant idea and they just won't do it. You know, they're just like and I'll say excuses, but whether they're reasons or excuses, you know, it's just
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
get over that bloody hurdle.
Mm,
And I think, you know, I don't think badly of them. I don't think, oh, for God's sake, you're just lazy, or it's not that. And I just feel for them. And I think if only you could see that
how amazing
one,
it would be.
how
Yeah.
amazing it would be if it happened, and even if it
Mm,
didn't happen, how amazing the journey is. Because you know, I've failed so many times, you know, and things haven't worked out on so many occasions, you know, that
yeah.
I thought they might, or it's shifted or it's gone sideways. You know, that's where you learn. That's where you sit back and have a
Mm,
tough look and think, God, gee, that's hurting. And then you're like, but hang on a minute, is it personal? It's not really. Do you know, and you grow. But I wish everyone had your attitude, because you know, I've always said this. It's like I imagine us all like on a planet, and we're all like little LEDs.
yeah.
You know, and we're only half on, or we're only just got the slightest bit of color or light in us, you know. And if you look hard enough, you can see, oh, that's a little blue light, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine if all of us just went bam, you know, and our lights were on. You know, can you imagine the universe? Like the aliens would look down at us and go, far out. That's the party planet. You know, that's fantastic. I reckon now they look down and go, geez, not going there. The pack of misery twats, the whole bloody lot
That's
of them.
hilarious.
But how good would
But
it
you know,
be though?
I still do have times, different times, whether it's to do with work or whatever, where I will doubt myself
Yeah.
and I think, oh, I don't know, I don't think I'm that clever to be able to do that, or I don't think, I'm that inspiring, or I don't think this, or I don't think that. So I do have times like that, but yeah. Ultimately, if you're really passionate and driven about something and you really want it, then the doors will open for you. Just step through them. That's all you got to do. Just step through the door. And then once you're through there, something happens and then another door opens and they all connect. So, and when they start connecting like that, it just means that it's meant to be. So just
Yep.
keep walking through those doors.
Yeah, you're in your
It
flow.
happens.
You call it doors, I call them pavers. I say just step on the
Yeah,
bloody paver, you know, and then the next one will appear and you
yeah,
step on it. But you know, I agree with you. Like we all have self-doubt. We all have imposter syndrome. We all
yeah.
have
We
all
all do
these,
it.
yeah, but it's whether we're prepared to just push through it, you know, and just have
Yeah,
a crack,
yeah.
because nothing really bad's going to happen other than we
Mm,
take it personally and we feel personally rejected. But if we sit back and have a proper look, it's not actually that. Even asking you to come on the podcast, you're like, me? What
yeah,
the hell do you want me to come on for?
I
But
know. I
but
thought,
I
oh my God, I can't believe it. Karen asked me to do a podcast. I thought, what? I'm just Julie from Packy doing Julie from Packy. I'm not that inspiring. Like,
No, but you're
God,
not. No, I don't see that at
mm,
all. I think you are inspiring. I'm inspired by you. You know, you keep doing what you say you're going to do, and you know, you keep having all these incredible experiences. And I do love your positive attitude towards it. You know, you always see the funny side of it or the
yeah,
good side of it and that sort of stuff. But I also wanted to get you on though, because you know, I've had some big names on here as well. Do you know? And people kind of think, yeah, but if that's person, they're famous, or that person they're an Olympian, or that person, blah blah. And they kind of see that there's a difference in people. Do you know? It's
yeah,
only
yeah,
those people who can achieve. But I want to also get on, which I do, and you're one of them. People who and don't take this the wrong way, just ordinary people doing their thing. And I don't think you're just ordinary, Jules, because I think you're a funny legend. But I want people to see that, we don't have to be superstars. We don't have to
That's
be.
right. Yeah.
We, and every single person has got so much to give to the world. And you know what you're talking about, charity and helping people feel seen and heard and valued, and that sort of stuff.
Mm,
It's kind of, I always say this, and I don't mean it in a harsh way, but it's kind of selfish not to do it, because if you don't do that thing, that could impact other people, you're holding back. You're holding back from them actually,
yeah. Yeah.
receiving something great. And
Yeah. And it's just amazing. Like, you don't think you're having an impact, but you actually are,
yeah,
and your impact is quite huge and you just don't realize. And at the time, like I could go to the house and do some haircuts for a day and walk away and think, oh, that was a good day, made some people look good, that's great. And it's not until like a little bit later and you might see some social media feedback or someone says something to you or you meet someone, and they kind of like heard about you haircutting at the house. And then you get like this like feedback that is really impactful and you think, wow, I didn't realize I'd made that much of a difference. Like
yeah.
it's really humbling. Yeah.
And it's so bloody important, because, and I keep saying to people, just show up, show up, show up,
Mm,
show up, because you don't know who's watching. You don't know who's listening. It's the
yeah.
same. I get so many things, messages and things, and I think I don't even know where that person found me. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
impacted them. And if you think about that, one woman that you do the hair for, and she was having a really struggling with something, and you were
Mm,
kind to her, and you heard her, and you listened to her story. As she goes home, or she goes shopping down the bloody plaza or something, and then she's feeling kind, so she smiles at 4 people, and one of them was going to take their life that afternoon, because
yeah,
there's,
that's
but
right.
she smiled at them, and that saved a life. And when you talked about your neighbor in Maui, who would come home and make you dinner, so what if somebody was kind to her at one point, and then she's then now extending her kindness to you, and because of her
Yeah.
kindness, you're now extending your kindness, to
Yeah.
all these other people. And I just think that if we show up and just show up and be kind,
Mm,
do our thing and be
yeah.
kind, we're changing the world. We
Yeah, that's
really
right.
are.
You are. Yeah, one little act at a time. Only takes one little act.
I, I agree. And I agree. And I put a post up the other day saying that we only have to impact one person, and if that one person impacts 10, and they impact 10 and 10 and 10 and so on, before long we've impacted 1 million people, if our
That's right.
initial impact was profound. And we sort of sit back and say, well, I'm just Julie from Packen, or I'm just Cheryl from Maui, or I'm just bloody, Shirley from Traff, or whatever we say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're not. None of us are just.
Mm,
None of us are
mm,
just. We're all incredible human beings that that bring so much magnificence to the planet, and all we got to do is step into it and just
yeah, that's right.
trust that we'll be okay. And it's
Yeah. Yeah. And I did a haircut on a lady just recently, and she kind of had a vision in her head of she had quite long hair and she wanted to go really short. And I said, well, how come, let's not go too short. Let's just do like a bit of a phased in approach. So kind of, you know, did a phased in approach and it was a longer version of what she wanted. But I kind of like, cut some layers around her face and did a bit of a side sweep rather than having it parted in the middle. And we styled it differently and put some product and straightened it for her. And she just felt, she said, I feel like I could take on the world. Like
wow.
it was it was just such a transformation in her. And I thought, wow, that's amazing, the difference, like some time spent making her look pretty. Yeah, she just felt unbelievable confidence and she just strutted her stuff out there and she just felt amazing and it was great to see.
I love that. I love that so much. Before I was thinking, about saying that I do my own hair because I don't want to listen to anyone's shit. But I might come to you too. I
Yeah,
reckon.
if we live closer, Kes, I'd be rocking up on your doorstep once a month.
I wish we did live closer, but I reckon you're a bloody hoot.
Oh,
No, I absolutely love you. I really do. But now, where else are you? What are your plans? Like, at the moment, you're doing this 2 days a week. I mean, 1 day a month, 1 day.
1 day a month. Yep.
Yeah. And
So,
and what are your plans with this? Are you just going to continue to do that, or are you going to find more places, or phase your other work out, or what are you thinking?
oh, look, I have all sorts of thoughts, when I think about it. And I thought I'd like to build like a little barber army, so all those little barbers that I went to school with barber friends of barbers, like some of them don't work Mondays. So, and I volunteer on a Monday generally. So it's like, let's build a little barber army of all these little barbers, and we hop in a minivan and travel down to Latrobe Valley and spread out to all the organisations and cut people's hair for a day. Let's do that. That'd be great. And some of them, like their partners or their girlfriends work in the hair industry as well, and they might not work Mondays. So they can be doing the zhuzhing, you do that straightening and curling and blow drying and all that. And, we'll have a team of barbers that do all the cutting, and then you could bring other people on board, and get the people with, like the clothing vans that come around and can supply women and young men with suits for interviews and I don't know, stuff leads on to other stuff, doesn't it? Broaden the horizons beyond hair. It's like an all over makeover thing.
I think that is fantastic. Well, you and I, we're going to talk in the future, because I've got this idea for homeless people, for getting them jobs and matching them up with organisations. And I haven't done it yet, but I reckon there's something to build on there. But regardless of whether we do that, I love your friggin' barber army. I love that. You got to get that going. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there, isn't there, that do want to volunteer, that really do. They don't know how. And many people have said that to me before, with Africa, I want to do stuff in Africa, but I've never known how to do it. That sort of stuff. And sometimes you've just got to be a conduit, to get people into that space. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, Julie, I bloody love it. I bloody love it. It's just are you going to get back into a band?
Look, it's not on the horizon, but who knows what might pop up. Things have a cycle, I reckon, and they always pop rear their head, down the track somewhere. So still got my drums in the spare room and have a little bit of a bash every now and then. And I studied classical guitar when I was like a young child. So I've still got my first guitar from when I was a child. So I, pluck out a bit of a tune on that every now and then, and who knows? And I love writing. So stay tuned, Kez, because I've got a couple of books on the go.
Fantastic.
One's been on the go for 13 years. You can't rush these things.
But you've also written a blog for us, for Girls with Hammers, as well.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was fantastic. That was you're an amazing person. You just got so many artistic skills. I've got an idea. What you can do is you can set up your barber army, and then at the end of it, you can have all the women that had their hair done, and you can get them all banging on drums, right? And so that they're just, like they're feeling like they're goddesses, goddess warriors, and they walk out and they just take over. I reckon that would be fantastic.
It would be good. We could combine it.
It would be great. Well, tell us, what are your books about?
Oh, well, my dad passed away, what would it be now? 13 years of mesothelioma. Yeah. And he was part of the local asbestos support group. And he had all of these notes while he was going through as the disease was progressing. And they'd never had anyone that kept notes like he did. He used to write everything down about how he was feeling and conversations he'd have with people. It was amazing stuff. So they were really interested in turning his notes into a book, like a little bit of a resource for people to kind of like read. And I thought, and they approached me and asked me if I'd like to do that, like 13 years ago. Luckily, the group's still going, so there's still time. And I, often bump into the woman that heads that group up, and I go, yeah, I haven't forgotten. I'm still doing that book. But I didn't want to just leap into like the notes, and I kind of wanted to, do a bit of a story and paint the picture of the man and, Dad's family and where he came from and who he was, and kind of like bring him into it and not just talk about the disease, So it's a work in progress. I've I'm not even a quarter of the way through, but it sits on my desk on a memory stick here. It's not the kind of thing that you can just plug in and whack out a couple of paragraphs while you're waiting for the spuds to cook. I've got to feel inspired.
Yeah.
So, and creativity, like it ebbs and flows in different ways, and it'll happen. I'm confident it'll happen, but yeah.
I love it. I love that it's 13 years and or 14 years and you're still saying, oh, I haven't forgotten. As I say, I haven't forgotten when it's about 2 weeks. Not bloody 13 years, 14 years.
Yeah, you can't rush these things, kids.
Oh crap! I bloody love you.
And the other book, well, that's a work in progress too, but that's only a recent thing, so I don't feel so bad about that one. And it's got a temporary title because I've just given it a temporary title, and the title is a bunch of stuff in no particular order, and it's just like random stories and bit of poetry, bit of like everything just all jumbled in together that I've experienced in my life. So
Oh.
yeah, it's just a bunch of random stuff as I've temporarily titled it. So
But they're often really great books to read, though, just the little stories. It's I reckon that would be great. And the way you write and the way you storytell and your sense of humor, I reckon that'd be a bloody ripper book. A ripper book.
it's got to have humor. I like to laugh every single day. Yeah.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
you do. You're a bloody legend. You really are. Well, look, Julie, I've loved this. I'm asking my get off the bench question. What I mean, I know we've touched on stuff, but what advice would you give to someone just sitting on something that they're passionate about, or that they've always been passionate about, or they've always said, "Oh God, I'd love to buy my own lolly shop, love to make my own candles, I'd love to write a book, what all that stuff." What advice would you give them?
Just give it a go. Like if you want to open your own lolly shop, for example, let's just use that as an example, then go and volunteer on a Saturday morning and go and work in your local lolly shop. There's been a lolly shop somewhere, like if I wanted to open a lolly shop, I know that there's a lolly shop in Yarragon. So I'd go in there and go, I'm thinking about opening up my own lolly shop, but I'm not sure if I really want to do it or not. And do you think I could, volunteer my time in your shop on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday morning or a whole Saturday? I don't know, whatever you like, just to kind of get a feel for what I think about working in a lolly shop. You know what I mean?
They might say, "You bloody competition, piss off."
You'd have to say I don't live anywhere near you. I'm actually, southern Melbourne area, but
Yeah.
you'd have to go, you'd have to explain that, I suppose. But I don't know, just give it a go.
Yeah, I
Take
agree.
some time out, and it doesn't have to work.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If it fails for whatever reason, like just it doesn't. It's only a moment in time. It's not. It's not the end of your life. Like it's just an experience, and just take it for what it is. And if it hasn't worked because of like a demographic or I don't know, whatever reason, then it doesn't mean to say that that's the end of the dream. Like,
Yeah.
just sit on it a little bit, sit with those feelings, and just, work your way through them. And when you come out the other side, give it another crack.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love
But
that.
I just reckon if you're really passionate and you really want to do it, then just, yeah, just, I don't know, jump to the edge and you'll find that you can fly. You're not going to fall to the bottom.
Yep.
Give it a
I
go.
love that saying. I absolutely love that saying. And I think
Yeah.
too that's even if we worry about what people are going to say, but the only people criticizing the ones that are not in the ring, the people are sitting on the bloody sidelines poking their bloody fingers at you, and they're not bloody doing anything anyway. So don't even worry about them.
Right.
But the other thing is too, we worry about people talking about us, like, "Oh, wouldn't she, dickhead?" That's the stuff. But I guarantee, and I say it in my book, I guarantee, you're only spoken about till the next big thing comes along, and the next big thing comes along in about 3 minutes. So
Yeah, that's right.
don't even worry about it.
That's it. And I reckon that's the beauty of being older. I
Yeah.
find that the older you get, the less you care what people think and what people say. That it kind of drops off, the older you get, and just that life experience teaches you, and
Yeah.
just get out there and give it a go.
I
Yeah.
agree, and I think too. A bit on a morbid note, I think we sort of see our mortality a lot easier. The older we get, we kind of think, Jesus, like, I don't know when it's coming, so I'm gonna. What am I doing? Why am I wasting time worrying about what people think? Like,
Yeah,
I don't even know how long I've got to bloody go. Let's just get and do that bloody thing, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's no, I love it. Now, where can if people want to reach out to you? Where can they do that, or how can they do that on LinkedIn, Insta? What do you got going?
Oh, what have I got going? I do have Insta, but I'm really bad at it. And I kind of set it up for my barbering, but I don't keep it updated, and I'm really terrible at Insta. And I am on social media, but I use it for my own entertainment because there's so much stuff on there that makes me laugh on a daily basis. People are funny. There's some funny stuff on there. And it's amazing people on there. Lots of people inspire me on there too. So yeah, I'm on Facebook as Julie Uli. Um, I wouldn't recommend the Insta. It's not a terribly good account, that one.
What about LinkedIn?
I'm on LinkedIn as Julie Phillip.
Well, if someone's just thinking of one of the someone wants to join your barber army, they might want to reach out to you.
They might. I hadn't thought of it, Kes.
Oh, I'm the connector,
Maybe they can just ring you and you can give them my phone number.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, okay, we can do that too. So,
Yeah,
so
old school. Old
yeah.
school.
So
Or send a picture.
old school. Give me a ring, and I'll give Julie a ring, and then I can tell you what she said and get back to you, and then I'll.
It's funny.
Or they could just go to LinkedIn and bloody send you a message.
Oh.
God, I love you. Oh, shit. Oh, well, I'm going to leave it there, Julie. But I've had such a bloody good time talking to you. You do inspire me. Like you just, and you've got a heart of gold. Like I just love your zest for life.
Oh,
You're one
thanks,
of those.
Kes.
Oh, I do. You're one of those people that just, every time I look at you, I smile, and I do look at you on Facebook, and you're dressed up like a bloody hobbit, with a saxophone and Christ knows what it's, or I don't know what that thing is, a flute of some sort. What was
Oh,
that?
clarinet.
Clarinet. That's what.
Yeah, we actually we went out for the day and come across this antique shop, and I don't play clarinet, got no intention of playing it. But I saw it there and I thought, I really love the look of it, like I don't got no intention of playing it, but geez, that would be a really nice ornament in my front lounge room, So I thought I'm going to get that. So I just pretended I was playing it. People really thought, from that picture that I really, and I said, no, I'm only doing bar mitzvahs at the moment. You'll have to wait. I've got a bit of a queue. But no, I don't play clarinet, but yeah, I know. I like to act the fool a lot.
Oh, well, you keep me entertained. If I'm looking for something funny on Facebook, I'm just going to go to your page. But you're bloody awesome. But thank you so much for joining me, Jules. I absolutely love what you're doing, and you just not only are you inspiring and very funny, and got such a positive attitude, but you just got the biggest heart. You just ever since I've known you, you've reached out to me in a number of ways for other people. It's never been for you. It's
Yeah,
always for other people. And I just really admire that warmth in you, and your kindness. And I don't know. I just think you're one hell of a human. And I'm so bloody grateful that we're friends. You're beautiful. You really are.
yeah. Thanks, Kes.
My,
Kindness. I think I saw on Facebook recently. It's like confetti, and you need to sprinkle that shit everywhere. Yeah, that's what you need to do. And I've got like a whole range of T-shirts. Kind is cool. Cool is kind is the new cool, and I like to wear those when I'm out and about.
yeah,
Spread the message.
Me too. I got a range of those, and I just love them. Absolutely love them. But
Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you very much, and I hope the Barber Army does start hunting you down, or your new recruits start connecting with you. And I really would love to see you get that up and running. I really would. I think it'd be bloody fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Stay
thank you.
tuned.
Yeah, we will. Thank you. Let us know because I want to. I'll plug that. But thank you so much, and you can go back and enjoy the rest. The little you have of the remainder of your Sunday afternoon.
I'm going out to plant petunias.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. Good on you.
Thanks for having me, Kez.
Oh, it's my
It's
absolute
been an
pleasure.
absolute blast.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Kez.
Okay,
Bye.
see ya.